You are listening to the Keeping It Juicy podcast.
Your main squeeze in nutrition.
Don't forget to subscribe so you can join us every Tuesday for a brand new episode.
Also, don't forget to add us on Instagram and Facebook at Keeping It Juicy Podcast.
Welcome back to Keeping It Juicy podcast. Today is episode 60.
This big 6-0.
The big 6-0. I seriously can't believe it. Like, seriously.
Yeah. So, because we are starting off from the 6-0, let's kind of, the main premise behind this episode is going to be all about, if you guys don't know by now, her name is Gweneth Paltrow, former actress, and now, I guess, I don't know what to call her.
Entrepreneur,
I don't know.
CEO of a health and wellness website. I'm not
of the Goop Lab. So, in case you guys don't know, we are going to go into it a little bit today. Netflix did come out with a series that's a 6-part series. We've only watched the first half, so this episode will probably cover the first half. The next episode will cover the next half. But it's some interesting stuff. I was actually not emotionally or mentally prepared when I watched it.
Same.
So.
We will get into that in just a moment, but before that, we are going to dive into the new nutrition in the news. So this article is called America's Most Widely Consumed Oil Causes Genetic Changes in the Brain, and soybean oil specifically linked to metabolic and neurological changes in mice. So this kind of piggybacks off of last week's episode, which was, again, how food affects our genes. And so as we know, soybean oil is used for fast food, frying. It's added to a lot of packaged foods. Soybean is fed to livestock. And soybean oil is most definitely the most widely consumed and edible oil in the U.S., according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. But in all likelihood, it's probably not the most healthy for humans. There are definitely better choices. It's also heavily genetically modified, if that matters to you at all. So this new study published this month in the Journal of Endocrinology compared mice fed with 3 different high-fat diets from soybean oil, and then soybean oil modified to be low in linoleic acid, and then coconut oil. So the scientists found pronounced effects on the oil, basically comparing like the different oil sources to the hypothalamus, where, as we know, a lot of critical processes take place. So the hypothalamus regulates your body weight through different metabolic pathways. It maintains your body temperature, and it's critical for reproduction and physical growth, as well as your response to stress. The team determined a number of genes in mice fed soybean oil were not functioning correctly. So that's very crucial. Such gene that involves the love hormone, which is oxytocin. In soybean oil fed mice, levels of oxytocin in the hypothalamus went down. So it's related to that gene that is related to oxytocin. The research team discovered roughly 100 other genes also affected by soybean oil diet. They believe this discovery could have ramifications, not just for energy metabolism, but also for proper brain function and diseases such as autism or Parkinson's disease. However, it is so important to note that there is no proof that soybean oil causes these diseases. Right. It's just a suggestion and an association at this point. So this study did utilize male mice. So oxytocin is important for maternal health and promotes the mother-child bonding. Similar studies do need to be performed using female mice to really see how this affects the relationship overall. An additional note on this study is that the research team has not yet isolated which chemicals in the oil are responsible for the changes they found in the hypothalamus, but they have ruled out 2 candidates. It's not linoleic acid, since the modified oil also produced genetic disruptions, nor is it sigmasterol, which is a cholesterol-like chemical found naturally in soybean oil. So 2 down, lots to go. Identifying the compounds responsible for the negative effects is an important area for the research team's future. And the dogma that saturated fat is bad and unsaturated fat is good. Soybean oil is a polyunsaturated fat, but the idea that it's good for you is not proven. Coconut oil, which contains saturated fats, produce very few changes in the hypothalamic genes. Um, but with that being said, I do want to say keep in mind this study looked at changes in the brain, not cardiovascular health.
And
So
nothing else. So it's
nothing
just
else,
that.
just, yeah. So do not start dousing things in coconut oil because this study found that it provided no changes in the brain.
People will look for any excuses nowadays.
Yeah, to go on the coconut oil train, but keep you need to look at the full picture here. This study did not look at all at cardiovascular health. So
Right.
keep that in mind.
Right. I mean, a lot of the soybean oil that we do consume today, like you said, is processed. So, I mean, typically polyunsaturated fats are considered healthier, but because of
Mhm.
the way that we consume soybean oil, I doubt
Mhm.
it's like I doubt there hasn't been something changed in its chemical buildup that would
Mhm.
cause unfavorable reactions in our
Of
body.
course.
So,
Of course.
yeah, but that doesn't mean you should, like we said, like amp up on the coconut oil. I mean,
Exactly.
unless it's for your hair or nails, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever floats your boat.
Sounds like a plan.
So just let us know how your thoughts and feelings about this new nutrition in the news. Um, do you do it yourself? Do you do soybean oil or coconut oil? How do you feel? Do you feel like we're wrong? I mean, we can't be wrong because we're just stating an article, but
Right.
anyways, but people might say anyways.
Yeah.
But um,
Not our research.
right. So just let us know your thoughts and your feelings. And with that being said, let's go into why the fuck we're all here. So that is Gwyneth Paltrow, which who
Oh, Gweneth.
I used to like her. I really did.
Yeah.
Like there was this one movie where she was a flight attendant
Uh-huh.
with Mark Ruffalo, and I thought she was pretty decent. And now that she came out with this stuff, I kind of take back what I said. So what is the Goop Lab? You're wondering. So
I just
basically,
hate that name. Like,
Goop,
can we just say that? I hate
Goop,
the name. So, like, what does that mean?
Goop. I don't. Maybe it's a way to put her name into it, Gwyneth Paltrow, GP, and then add the O in there just for a splash of interesting. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't like that name either. Goop Lab. Lab though. I don't know.
Science.
So, so what is it? Basically, it's a lifestyle wellness retailer website founded by Gweneth Paltrow. It has since been not only a Netflix documentary, it's also been a podcast before, which I feel like we should take a gander at just to see
Mm-hmm.
if.
Definitely.
So, with that being said, her website has received a lot of backlash from controversial therapies and very fraudulent type of claims. I mean, it's a life wellness website. Let me just put that out there. That's already going to be up for um
Debate. Mm.
yeah. So Goop was fined $145,000 for claims made about vaginal jade eggs. You heard that right. So these jade eggs are supposed to apparently help with hormones, improve bladder control, and increase sexual energy. So the magical eggs are on sale for $66, which I feel like they missed a punch for having it be $69. So
Opportunity missed.
missed. So I mean, just this jade egg alone gave a lot of controversy. Was I mean, that sounds like some Game of Thrones shit to me. Just saying. But there are also a lot of other questionable products, claims, and celebrity endorsements. For example, the medical medium. She endorses the shit out of him, in case you didn't know. And if you're a fellow medical medium follower yourself, maybe this podcast isn't for you. um, so all of this nonsense was going on well before Netflix even decided to give her a series in the first place, which is why the series is causing quite the uproar. I mean, why else are we devoting an episode to this? It's clear what the objective is. There's endless amounts of different illnesses and sicknesses that we'll never run out of because there's a product for everything, according to her. Or I guess not her, her Goop Lab. So not to mention these products are very expensive. If you're seeking spiritual support, they've got an $84 amethyst water bottle for you. And if you need something to calm down your child, there's a $27 chill child kid calming mist. Just pss, pss, spray that bitch.
Did you just call someone's kid a bitch?
No, I was just saying.
You said spray that bitch.
I mean, I wasn't, whatever. So, do you want your inner beauty to glow? You can be the proud owner of a $70 beauty powder, also known in the market as just a regular powder. I guess you could put like flour in it and call it the same thing. So, want to improve learning and improve athletic performance at the same time? You're in luck because for only $399, you can purchase headphones that also send electrical signals through your scalp to your brain. Do you want me to go on?
They have quite the array of products on their website.
I mean,
So as you can see, like they've got something for you. They have something for everybody.
like clearly this automatically already shows this is only for people with privilege. Like
Yes.
not even middle class people. Like maybe for the upper middle class, maybe, and then just for the upper class.
I'm sorry, but the rest of us don't really get to worry about some of this stuff. Like
No. I mean, I want to, like, for a person in her position, I would expect her to not do something like this, but rather do something from a more humanitarian cause, which she might already be doing it, but
right, we're not Gweneth Paltrow experts, but
I mean, like, I would expect something more on that end in regards to climate change, animal causes, economic, like, resources and welfare, stuff like
right.
that, not this crap.
Yeah,
I said
exactly.
crap.
So yeah, those were just some of the more obnoxious products from like their wellness page, but the list goes on and on and on and on. You can spend hours just looking at all the stuff, like so much stuff, you know? So we're just gonna go over like each episode briefly, talk about the applicable parts.
Right.
So episode 1 is called The Healing Trip. And there is a disclaimer on the website, which is great. Disclaimers are great. It basically says that psychedelics have incredible potential as therapeutic agents, and they are not something that you should approach lightly. They require a great deal of care and expertise and support to have those desired therapeutic effects. They can leave you vulnerable and have the potential for serious and, in rare cases, fatal harm. If you're considering experimenting with any healing experience, you should consult your own medical team and understand the risks before proceeding. And for anything involving psychedelics, verify the legal status, as psychedelics are illegal in many countries and unregulated in others. The purpose of this episode is basically for those dealing with some sort of trauma or loss, and the goal is for them to use psychedelics to relieve this trauma.
On the website, there is a compiled list of places you can go for psychedelic treatments. So they say that with the help of doctors and researchers that we trust, we put together a list of a few psychedelic assisted therapy centers. So if you're considering a treatment, check with your doctor first. That's what they put. And these centers for psychedelics, which also these psychedelics include mushrooms, and not just the ones that you eat, and MDMA. And they are obviously not in the United States, rather, they are in Costa Rica, Mexico, and the Netherlands. So if you are lucky enough to live in the US, you can go do ketamine retreats. It is claimed that ketamine helps with depression. Ketamine itself is traditionally used to stabilize anesthesia. It induces a trance like state. It's also commonly used as a horse tranquilizer as well. So, and actually, in that whole episode itself was super weird. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you see a group of people going to, I forgot, I think it was Mexico or Costa
It was,
Rica.
yeah, one of those.
So basically, they go to this country and they go to this retreat and they take a very small, minute dosage of shrooms, I believe,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I guess less
They just
than
trip out and
like
talk.
some of yeah, they talk about their feelings, and then there's, I guess, healers or people that regulate
Mm-hmm.
it.
Which is good.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah. Versus them just running around the jungle left to their own means. That can be dangerous.
I
You
mean,
definitely find yourself doing that.
unfortunately, that was not the weirdest episode that we saw.
Yeah. So that was kind of all about episode one. I mean,
Interesting direction.
yeah, interesting. And I mean, hey, if it has helped some people overcome, like, there was someone who was struggling with like PTSD,
Hmm.
someone who was struggling from like losing their dad because their dad committed suicide. So, like, heavy stuff. So if it
Right,
helped them, more power to them, just as long as nobody gets hurt, nothing bad happens, like,
right.
go. So, so yeah, interesting start. The next one is called Cold Comfort. So this episode features a character. So it features Wim Hof and the Wim Hof method, which is a very specific type of breathing and self-control, which allows him to accomplish these very interesting things.
Hmm.
So Wim Hof is also known as the Iceman. Some of the wild things that he has accomplished has been holding himself in ice water for nearly 2 hours with an elevated body temperature. So this is interesting because your internal body temperature should naturally drop in ice
Right,
cold water, but apparently his breathing techniques allow his body's temperature to not drop. So he's defying nature, if you will.
right.
He's also climbed to an insane height on Mount Everest in shorts and no shirt. He's also ran a half marathon barefoot above the Arctic Circle. He's also ran a full marathon in the desert without drinking any water. And he let a group of scientists shoot him full of exotoxins, and he didn't have an immune response whatsoever. So these interesting, like, biological things he can somehow overcome following the Wim Hof method. So he believes that our bodies are capable of doing extraordinary things, and he is very curious about how much control we have over our instincts, our thoughts, our health, and our happiness. So basically, Hoff has been practicing self-developed techniques, which he has begun to call the Wim Hof method, which he can say make the human body more resilient in the face of physical and physiological stress. These methods involve meditation, cold therapy, and breathing techniques.
I mean, all of these are rather harmless. Expect except the cold therapy method, which can be a little dangerous if you try to swim in ice for 2 hours. But the general idea of inducing slight stress to teach your body to overcome it, similar to exercise, is not a foreign concept. But this guy is a character nonetheless. I mean, maybe a character that we're not used to, but he's also a strong believer in making the body more alkaline, which is where I got slightly bothered by because we've talked about this in past episodes, but ingesting alkaline things does not necessarily make the body more alkaline. Your kidneys take care of that for you. I think in the episode he says by breathing slower, it makes your body more alkaline.
Yeah,
uh
there's a couple far-fetched claims. But at the end of the day, like if he accomplishes letting people breathe better and meditate, that's
Hmm.
not like the worst thing in the world. We should all
Right.
probably kind of sit back, relax, and do a couple deep breathing exercises.
And I think this method actually stems from, I think the reason why it was brought up was because you heard of people talk about waking up and taking a cold shower and feel like they're ready to take on the rest of the day. That's not the first time
Hmm.
I've heard of that. So,
Right, right,
I mean, if that
exactly.
floats your boat, you can totally do it, but not me.
And athletes have been doing ice baths for
Right.
a very long time. So there is some, logic behind some of it. And again, if the worst thing that happens is you feel a little bit better from trying some of his techniques, no harm done. I just hope he's not trying to like say, "Oh, I can cure your cancer," like through deep breathing. It's like,
Right. And another thing to mention is before each episode of the Goop, there is a disclaimer. Please consult your doctor and see if this is an appropriate method for you and your health. So just
which no one will
FYI.
do.
Right. And another thing in this episode that I saw was there was this man who apparently Wim Hof helped cure, like quote unquote, from his 50-50 chance of having paralysis. I feel like there's a deeper I feel like obviously if you guys are watching have been listening to us for a while, you know that health is very complex. Our human bodies are very
Hmm.
complex.
Hmm.
Medical histories and people's general history is very complex. So I don't think just when the Wim Hof method itself helped cure this
Right,
dude with
right.
paralysis because
And
that's a little extreme.
the placebo effect is a huge thing. If
Right.
you think something is going to help you because marketing persuaded you,
Right.
they kind of already have the upper hand on you already. So just
Right.
something to keep in mind.
Right. And like I said, I don't think that's the full picture that they're showing. So
100%. So now we're going to dive into the third episode. This one is where things got a little bit weird, so we're not going to talk about it too much because it
if
doesn't
you
relate to a nutrition podcast at
if
all.
you yeah, and if you're watching this episode with family, don't.
Yeah, or listening. So the third episode is called The Pleasure is Ours, and it features Betty Dodson, who is a sex educator, and her method that she created called the rock and roll. And so this episode is about affirming body positivity, sensuality, and the importance of orgasms for women specifically.
Hmm.
Um, so she speaks a lot about the need to and the advantage of knowing how to pleasure oneself, about how to be one with the body.
You heard that right. So I mean, she even mentions we're very dangerous when we're knowledgeable, especially in this department. So basically, in the episode, there are workshops on self love, intimacy, and communication. And they even pointed out that, like, because women don't really know how to properly self love, that, for example, there are girls as young as 9 years old that ask to have surgeries done to their private areas to exemplify non-realistic expectations that society may put on to women. So there is a disclaimer in this episode. If you do watch it, there are body parts shown. Let me
They
just
don't
say that.
censor. They do not censor.
No, no, they just whip it out. So um
Yeah.
so just FYI in regards to that, and they do claim that orgasms, like out of one of the many benefits, decrease stress and helps curb appetite.
There you go.
So
It's nutrition related.
yes.
There we
So
go.
I mean that was probably the most interesting episode that we came across, episode 3. And next episode we're probably gonna dive into 4 through 6, which we did glimpse is a lot more nutrition focused, and we'll see
Definitely.
if there's fuckery or not in there, and we'll walk you guys through it a little bit. And if you guys actually want to join us on this adventure, please watch the Goop Lab with us. It would be fun to hear your thoughts and concerns.
Each episode is about like 25-30 minutes long, so
Nothing
it's only
dramatic.
6. Huh?
I said
Yeah,
nothing dramatic.
you can knock it out pretty quickly.
Right. So with that being said, let us know your thoughts and feelings. And now we go on to close the episode for this week by going ahead and giving a shout out of the week, a social media shout out to @nutritionnut_JR. She is a dietitian and foodie in North Carolina. She does specialize in weight management and bariatrics. She does practice balance and mindfulness. Yes, that is included in the approach of bariatrics. I mean, I work in bariatrics myself.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah. So kudos to her for that. And she does post food pics, progress pics, and more tips. What else do you want?
So we like food.
Yes. I love how you focus on just food. I said more than just that, okay? So anyways, thank you so much for the support. We do appreciate it. If you guys want to be our next if you guys want to be our next social media shout out, please try to be engaged, comment, whatever, reach out, and we'll shout you out.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for your support, and that concludes this episode. So we will catch you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Say bye. They can't see you wink. Okay, bye. You have to remember, some people are not.
I keep forgetting. I'm sorry. I know, this is like the third time you told me.
Thanks for listening to the Keeping It Juicy podcast.
Your main squeeze in nutrition.
Don't forget to subscribe so you can join us every Tuesday for a brand new episode.
Also, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Keeping It Juicy Podcast.
We'd love to hear from you, so please leave us a review.
5 stars, no less.
On whatever platform you're listening to, or send us an email at keepingitjuicypodcast@gmail.com.
Or if you have any topics you'd like for us to touch upon, shoot us an email. Until next time, don't do anything that I wouldn't do. And then if you want to improve your learning and improve your athletic performance at the same time, well, you're in luck. So for only $399, you can purchase.
Start over. You're getting too excited.
Oh my God.
This episode is about affirming body. Watch it yourself.
Seems like men have it cut out for themselves over here.
Don't they always?
Okay, that's enough.
Moving on.